What if everything you were taught about ancient civilization was incomplete? What if, while pyramids were rising in Egypt and empires were forming in Rome, powerful civilizations were also flourishing across Africa, building cities, controlling trade routes, advancing science, and shaping global history? Because they were. Long before colonial borders divided the continent, Africa was home to some of the world's most advanced and influential civilizations. This is the story of ancient African civilizations. Explained. When people hear ancient civilization, many immediately think of Egypt. And yes, ancient Egypt was one of the most remarkable societies in human history, with monumental architecture, advanced medicine, mathematics, and writing systems like hieroglyphics. But Egypt was not alone. South of Egypt, along the Nile River, rose the Kingdom of Kush, centered in what is now Sudan. The Kushites built pyramids of their own, ruled Egypt during the 25th dynasty, and developed a powerful kingdom that controlled trade between Central Africa and the Mediterranean world. They had iron industries. They had written scripts. They had royal dynasties led by both kings and powerful queen mothers known as Kandakas. Africa's ancient story did not stop at the Nile. In West Africa, powerful empires rose along the edge of the Sahara Desert. These were not isolated villages. They were organized states with armies, taxation systems, and international trade networks. The Ghana Empire, emerging around the 6th century, became wealthy by controlling the trans-Saharan gold and salt trade. Gold from West Africa flowed north into Europe and the Middle East. In return came salt, textiles, and horses. After Ghana declined, the Mali Empire rose in the 13th century under Sundiata Keita. Mali expanded into one of the largest empires in African history. Under Mansa Musa, it became globally famous for its wealth and scholarship. Cities like Timbuktu became intellectual centers, housing libraries filled with manuscripts on astronomy, law, mathematics, and medicine. Scholars traveled across deserts to study there. Then came the Songhai Empire, which further expanded trade and governance. In the 15th and 16th centuries, its rulers built complex administrative systems and maintained diplomatic ties across North Africa. While West Africa thrived through trade and scholarship, East Africa developed powerful city-states along the Swahili coast. Cities like Kilwa, Mombasa, and Zanzibar became commercial hubs connecting Africa to Arabia, Persia, India, and even China. Swahili culture blended African and foreign influences, creating unique architecture, language, and trade networks. Archaeologists have found Chinese porcelain and Persian artifacts along the East African coast, evidence of global interaction, centuries before European colonization. Further south, in present-day Zimbabwe, a stone city rose between the 11th and 15th centuries. Great Zimbabwe. Massive granite walls were constructed without mortar, forming one of the largest ancient structures south of the Sahara. It was the capital of a kingdom that controlled regional gold trade and maintained connections with the Indian Ocean world. For years, colonial narratives falsely claimed Africans could not have built it, but archaeology confirmed what local traditions always knew. It was built by African ancestors of the Shona people. In Central Africa, the Kingdom of Congo developed a centralized political system in the 14th century. It had provinces governed by appointed officials and maintained diplomatic relations with Portugal in the late 15th century. In southern Africa, Mapungubwe emerged even earlier, around the 11th century, as a precursor to Great Zimbabwe. It demonstrated social hierarchy, gold craftsmanship, and long-distance trade. Across the continent, societies adapted to their environments with innovation. In the Sahel, architecture used mud brick to withstand climate extremes. In forest zones, kingdoms organized around lineage and trade. In the Horn of Africa, the Kingdom of Aksum became a major power between the 1st and 7th centuries, minting its own coins and adopting Christianity long before many European regions. Aksum traded with Rome, India, and Arabia. It built towering obelisks. It developed written language. It was once considered one of the 4 great powers of the ancient world. So why do so many people think Africa had no civilization before colonization? Part of the answer lies in colonial-era narratives that minimized African achievement to justify foreign rule. Education systems often focused heavily on European and Asian civilizations, while Africa's complex societies were reduced to footnotes. But the archaeological evidence tells a different story. Africa was not a blank slate waiting for history to begin. It was a continent of innovation. It developed iron-smelting technologies independently in several regions. It sustained vast trade networks across deserts and oceans. It produced scholars, architects, military strategists, and spiritual systems deeply rooted in philosophy. Civilization is not defined by stone monuments alone. It is defined by organized governance, economic systems, culture, knowledge, and identity. By that definition, ancient Africa was filled with civilizations. From the Nile Valley to the Sahara, from the forests of West Africa to the coasts of the Indian Ocean, societies rose, adapted, traded, and influenced the wider world. Some expanded into empires. Some declined due to environmental change, shifting trade routes, or internal conflict. But none were static. They evolved. And their legacy continues today in language, culture, architecture, and national identity across modern African nations. Understanding ancient African civilizations changes perspective. It challenges the idea that development came from outside. It restores pride in local innovation. It reconnects people to a deeper historical foundation. Because before colonization, before partition, before the maps were redrawn, Africa was already writing history. And these civilizations were not exceptions. They were chapters in a much larger story, one that is still being rediscovered. The question is no longer whether ancient African civilizations existed. The question is why we are only now beginning to fully acknowledge how advanced they truly were. And this is just the beginning of that rediscovery.